to the candy shop.
I taste just like candy.
Everybody, and welcome to Ask for Candy, 101 ways to make your love and your life sweeter. And I am Candace Harper, Love Coach, and I teach and inspire audacious intimacy to powerful people who want real relationships and shame-free singlehoods. I always say dating and relationships can be hard, but love is always easy. So you may be listening to me on your TuneIn app on some sort of smart device at Armed Radio Global, or you're listening in the garden to Armed Radio Global, or maybe you're joining me here on Facebook Live. I see Joe, I see Rebecca. You could also be calling in at any point in the next hour, 1-800-508-5431, with any comments or questions or anything that you want to know. If you are joining because you saw the Facebook post, or if you were in the group, the Armed Radio group, which you need to join, it's Armed Radio Group News, then you know that we are going to be talking about what to do with your singlehood. Now, here's the thing. You also might be expecting to see my occasional podcast partner, Askia, because we totally were like, yay, he's going to be back. However, he got called into work and had to stay at work, and we podcast people don't make a whole lot of money yet. So, Daddy had to work, and, we like nice things, so we're okay with that. Anyway, I think we can hold it down. I think that there's enough to talk about. There's enough going on in single lives and in the world today. And, as always, I come with a lot of information, but I do want to do something a little bit different tonight, because I feel like I inundate you sometimes with information. Now, there's no studio audience tonight. If you've listened before, at one point I had a studio audience. Askia has been here. Last week I had La Liz, the lovely La Liz, and I love having guests. I think that's something that's always going to happen. But one thing I kind of want to experiment with a little bit is really getting you guys engaged in the conversation. And I don't feel like you can do that if I'm talking the entire time, or if I'm just inundating you with information. So I'm going to try a little bit of a different format. Hopefully you're going to want to talk to me. I see Scott just joined. Denise joined. Scott was in our studio audience. Scott, I love having you here. Hopefully you'll want to call in. Like I said, 1-800-508-5431. And if you are watching live on Facebook, please, I'm going to love your commentary. We have a lot to talk about tonight, because we are going to talk about having a sexy, shame-free singlehood, and what to do with yourself after a breakup, after an ugly divorce, after a long love hiatus, which is sometimes chosen, and sometimes it just happens that way. And sometimes, time goes by, we're focusing on other things, and we wake up and say, oh, wait a second, I might want a love life. And you know what? It's not a requirement. But I think for those of us who are out there who do want it, who do want to make something happen, it's worthwhile to just have some suggestions for, what we can do to actually just like really rock singlehood, which we all is to just talk about what to do with your singlehood, also how to get over any kind of devastating breakup and just recoup and regroup. Understand that you are not alone. Scott says, hi, darling. Sending hugs, love from your #1 English fan. Oh, hi, Scotty. So sweet. I love the Brits. Scotty is one of my favorite British people. Anyway, so what I want to do is sort of start a spirit of relatedness. And I think the best way to do that is to kind of share a little bit of myself with you, in the hopes that you will also want to share some of yourself with me in return. I would love to hear about some of the things that you are doing to rock your singlehood, or some of your singlehood stories. And I know a lot of times we single people get that question of, why are you single? Especially when we're fantastic people, which I know all of us are, those of you listening and myself. And so I'm going to answer that question for you. Why am I single? Well, I will tell you the absolute truth. The last relationship that I was in, obviously, that's a loaded question for anybody. So you really could go way back into history of like, what is all your baggage about? But that's not what this show is about. I'm just talking about what's going on right now, right? So why am I single? My last relationship, we both entered into it with all kinds of baggage and immaturity and just expectation of the other person, ideas of what relationships are supposed to be based on whatever we made up, whatever we saw in movies, however we were raised, whatever, we saw in real life that was modeled for us, which we all do. If you have parents who are still together, whether they love each other or don't love each other, or parents who've divorced, like all those things we see as we're growing up, those are the models of what we think relationships are and what they're supposed to be. What we see in our family, what we see in, our neighborhoods and movies and television. So when we're not aware of what our power is when it comes to creating relationships, we get into them thinking, we go in expectation, what we want, knowing what we want, thinking we know what's right for us, and bringing all the baggage from the other relationships that didn't work. Hey, Brandon and Maria joined. What's up, Angela? Hi, people. I love it when you guys come in. So right now, for those of you who just joined, and if any of you just joined on TuneIn or in the garden, we're talking about how to get over a bad breakup and really use your singlehood. And what I'm doing right now is sharing myself and who I am and answering the question, why am I single? So like I said, my last relationship, we entered into it with all of our baggage, all of our beliefs, all of our disempowerment, and all the expectation in the world. Like I was hoping he was going to come in and kind of save the situation. He was hoping I was going to come in and be this, whatever it was he imagined me to be, when you meet someone online. I don't know. Not that I misrepresented myself, but, we make up stories. So we entered in with a lot of expectation. And then once we disappointed each other's expectation, we went at each other like cats and dogs. And so there was a lot of infighting. There was a lot of not getting along, a lot of it not working out. And so it broke down, as is what happens when you're in situations like that. So why I continue to be single to this day, even though we broke up a little over a year ago. But the reason I continue to be single is because I made a decision that I was not going to bring all that stuff from the past, because that, our relationship not working out wasn't just about the two of us, for the two of us. Like he brought all his stuff, I brought all my stuff, and that's what we do, right? Especially, if you know yourself to be someone who's had one bad relationship after another, or if you've been in a long-term relationship and, it started to not work and then it continues to snowball where it's just not working, it's a struggle. All of that is like historical stuff that's deciding what's happening in the moment. So I made a decision as a love coach and as someone who believes in transformation, who believes that what we think is what causes our actions, and how we see the world and what we expect from other people is what causes the reactions that we get, who believes in taking personal responsibility for my experience with whomever, whether it's family or friends or romantic relationships. I decided that I got to heal a lot of that stuff. I got to heal all the stuff that had me expecting him to be a certain way. I got to heal all the stuff that had me, ready to fight when he said things that I didn't like. And it wasn't, obviously it takes two people, right? So we were both, but I can only take responsibility for myself and my own behaviors. And one thing I know I don't want to do is to bring that into the next relationship. Control issues, trust issues, fears that it's not going to work out, all of that stuff that is detrimental to a relationship. I didn't want to bring any of that stuff with me. So I made this decision to just get really healthy physically, get really healthy mentally, and really take this time to, be on my own and see what can grow from that. Get purposeful, get more understanding and accepting of myself, get in relationship with myself, and, be able to date in a way that's not attached to someone being what I want them to be. And that's the long form answer. Now, what is the worst part about being single? Well, I will tell you that the absolute worst part about being single is those moments when, and I don't know if it's true for any of you out there who are single, or even if you're in a relationship, I feel like this can happen when you feel like whatever you're doing is not the right thing. And that usually has to do with, what your family believes, or, what kind of commentary people make about you, how you fit into your communities and your social circles. It's hard to be the single one around a bunch of married couples. It's hard to be in a family where everybody's married and they have all these preconceived notions about what your life is like. Those moments when there's trauma or bad things happen in life, it's like you want to have a partner there. You want to have somebody who can support or, understand you, knows who you are, knows how you're going to deal with this stuff. I mean, even just so recent and relevant, a family member of mine passed away just this past week, and she was very special and very young. It was very unexpected. And, as families do, we have to all bond together and, do funeral services and be there for that sort of thing. And being single in the midst of that, there is power in it. But then there's also, wanting to have that sort of support that is not necessarily tied to your family dynamic, is more concerned about supporting you. So I would say that's the worst part about it, but that's me nitpicking, because the best part about it, and what I love about being single so much, especially after being in a relationship that did not work, is just being able to spread my wings and have a kind of freedom that is it's not about how much fun I can have. And, it's not that single freedom that people always assume, single people are out dating every night and living fabulously and traveling the world, which all that stuff is great. I mean, obviously I want that to be a piece of it, but it's just being able to listen to my own intuition without anyone's input and feel very, sort of powerful in my own ability to collaborate and partner with people, and just feel like there's no, what's the word I'm looking for? There's no, my partnerships with people, whether they be business partnerships or friendships or volunteer partnerships, are really just about whatever that project is. It's not about anything else beyond that. So there's a freedom to it, and it frees up my relationships, that, all these non-sexual partnerships, non-sexual relationships. It makes it very easy to just partner with people without all the multi-layers of the sexual relationship, the financial relationship, the, kids, or, things that we take care of together. Those things are all fantastic. I think that's wonderful if you have that and it's working out for you. I have nothing against it, but I do think that it affords you a lot of freedom when you have a singlehood, even if you are a single parent, when you have a singlehood where you can actually, work on yourself, do your own personal development. If you want to do therapy, if you want to learn how to do something new, and you don't want to have to collaborate or okay it with someone because of the time that they'll miss with you and things like that. That's definitely a good part of it. And, just being my own woman, not having to worry about an excess opinion, which, if you're with somebody and you have a great relationship, that's a great thing to have. But when you're with somebody and you're constantly at each other, having that voice back there, oh, I want to do this big project. If you want to do that project, you have to do this and that, or, you're not that good at that. And, I feel like in a bad relationship tends to echo your negative inner voice, which we all have on some level. So yeah, the best part about it is that I can just kind of be empowered to do what I want to do, and do projects that I want to do, and sort of self-talk myself without an additional judgment or criticism, or someone who's in my ear. Now I see Rory and Reggie and Jennifer all joined. Hopefully you guys are still here. Because I have this vacant space of my occasional podcast partner not being here tonight, I'm really going to want you guys to interact. So if you want to say anything about being single, how you feel about it, or if you're not single, like what your singlehood was like, if you are, like, praise Jesus, I'm not single anymore, or if it's the opposite way around, like, feel free to chime in and make commentary about it. And if anything comes up for you in the course of everything that we're going to be talking about, because I'm actually, let's see, what did I have here? So I'm going to talk about like the thoughts and the beliefs that we often have that sabotage singlehood. And, here's what I believe about thoughts and beliefs, because they're not, first of all, they're not real. Like, we make them up. We make them up based on what we've learned, what we're taught, what we're told, what we experienced. It's all based on history. You can ask 100 different people the same question and they'll have a completely different perspective. None of it's real. So, when it comes to love, especially, we have this pack of thoughts and beliefs that we tend to walk around with, whether single or in a relationship. And that dictates how we navigate that relationship or all of our relationships. So if we are walking around with a belief that, let's say, no one can be trusted, if you're one of those women or one of those men who just doesn't trust the people that you date, if you think that men or women cannot be trusted in general, and that's kind of how you navigate the world, maybe you might let a couple people in here or there, but for the most part, you don't believe people can be trusted. Your actions and, your communication, your words are going to be out of that context of not trusting anyone. So, what happens when we act and speak from a place of belief? We perpetuate that belief and we make it true in our lives. So if I choose not to trust anyone, I'm going to treat everybody I get into a relationship with suspicion. And any of you out there who have ever treated anyone with suspicion, how did that work out for you? I know for me, it didn't work out well. If you are a phone checker, if you are someone who doesn't believe people when they tell you things, or they say, this happened or that happened, or I was here with so-and-so, and you don't believe people are telling the truth because you don't trust people, like that actually sort of plants a seed, like a poisonous plant in a relationship. And oftentimes, we get in these situations where we don't trust anyone. We get into a relationship, we got all our trust baggage with us, and we treat people like they can't be trusted. And after a while, they stop loving us as much because they feel untrusted. And it starts to drive a wedge, and then control battles start. And, if you've ever been in a bad relationship, you know exactly how that goes. Because usually trust is a big factor in that. Hi, Bobby. Bobby just joined us. So yeah, first we're going to run down the beliefs that destroy your singlehood, or some of them. And hopefully you guys have some too. I mean, hopefully you have some beliefs that you know you subscribe to, that you're willing to admit that you subscribe to. Because, here's the thing, this is not about making anybody wrong, because I'll tell you, I have subscribed to every belief that was disempowering and sabotaging to a relationship, which is how I became a love coach. If I wasn't, challenged by these issues myself, I wouldn't have the conversation to talk about it. And I think if most people out there are honest with themselves, we've all been in a place where we have judged. We've all been in a place where we have believed something that really ultimately was not serving us or serving our relationships. So, I don't want you to feel shy or feel nervous about talking about it, because that's what we're here for, honeys. I want you to feel like you can interact. So then after we talk about some of these beliefs that can destroy your singlehood, we're going to talk about the ways that you can bring sexy back. And I mean that in the most Justin Timberlake way I can possibly mean it. Like, how do you get back your audacity, your verve, your, I'm just feeling so good about myself, that thing that is attractive to other people, and that thing that has you confident and feeling good whether or not you're in a relationship, knowing who you are, purposeful, all of that is your sexy. And yes, there's the outer stuff too, and we'll talk about that a little bit. but really it's that inner glow, right? We all want that sexy inner glow. So we're going to talk about a lot of the ways that you can do that. And some of them are a little bit of a deep dive, because, you know, I'm all about asking for candy and making life sweet. But I think the way to do that is to be willing to go into those deep, dark recesses of our psyche and of our heart. I don't know, how game you guys are. Any of you that are on live or any of you that are out listening, are you game for an emotional deep dive? Oof, it sounds so heavy, right? But it needs to be done. Because if what we really want is to have a love life that is worthwhile, or a singlehood that is worthwhile, we got to be willing to do that work. You know, it's the human condition. Now, you know, the other side of it is to just, you know, drink it away or smoke it away or whatever and ignore it like it's not important. But then ultimately, it always comes back around to love, and it always comes back around to, you know, wanting to have some sort of deep connection. So that's why I do what I do, honey. So after we talk about all the ways to bring sexy back, if we have enough time, you know what, I'm going to make the time, because I always like to give you the 3 ways to make love and life sweeter, which are similar to the bringing sexy back, but these are 3 things that I want you to always do, even if you're in a relationship. And then I will leave you with a sign-off question, and then we will close out, because we only have an hour. I wish we had 3 hours. I wish we had 4 hours. I mean, those of you who know me know that I can go on forever, but I'm not going to go on forever. I'm just going to go on until 9. Now, let's talk about some of these other beliefs that can destroy singlehood. And holla if you hear me. Like, if anything resonates with you, I want you to either call me 1-800-508-5431, or I want you to comment on Facebook Live. I'm not TV, people. I may seem like it if you're watching on Facebook Live, but I'm not TV. I'm here to have a conversation with you, to interact. I see Kenny just joined us. Hi, Kenny, my love. Kenny, for all of you listening, Kenny's fantastic. He works out in Nashville, and he gets dogs and puppies and kitties adopted on the news, in the Nashville news. He's a fantastic human being. He's got a whole bunch of animals himself, because he's loving and compassionate, and he's doing God's work in the world. So if you get a chance to check out Kenny Tallier, especially if you're in the Nashville area, or even if you're not and you want to adopt an animal, check out my friend Kenny. He's wonderful. All right, so beliefs that can destroy your singlehood. Now, chime in if something resonates, or if you think of some of your own and you want to share them. I love you too, Kenny. Oh, Kenny just sent me a love you, Candace, for those of you listening. I love you too, Ken. I'm glad you're here. So the first one was, if you're walking around feeling like no one can be trusted. I mean, there's nothing more disempowering than that when it comes to love and romance. If you can't trust anyone, you know, and you feel like, a lot of times when we can't trust anyone, I know I come from you know, it's a generational thing. Like the generation before us, most of them don't trust anyone. But that thinking is what forms your world, right? So if I walk around in the world and I don't trust anyone, what I'm going to get is I'm going to attract a lot of people who can't be trusted. I'm going to attract a lot of shadiness in my life. I'm going to attract a lot of lies and dishonesty. You know, that's what I'm going to bring on, because I don't trust anyone. So, obviously, that's going to destroy my singlehood, like I was talking about earlier, because I'm going to behave in a way that is from not being able to trust. It's my beliefs, my thoughts give rise to my actions. Here's another one that I hear a lot from both men and women, that there are no good men or women out there. Now, really, like, people who are still walking around saying this, and I see this a lot on Facebook, especially women make comments like, oh, all the good men are taken, or like, if he's a good man, he's married already. Like, that is such BS. First of all, I mean, you know, we only have the frame of reference for the people that we know in our immediate circles, our immediate communities, which is like a millifraction of the amount of people there are in the world. And granted, you can't just go around and meet everyone in the world, but you have to realize that just the belief that there's no good men out there is so sabotaging to your ability to recognize a good man. I mean, there's a lot of good men out there who, are single for whatever reason, whether it's that they were widowed, or, that they chose not to get married for whatever reasons. Maybe they're working on themselves, whatever it may be. There's a lot of them out there. It's like, what are you willing to see? What are you willing to open your eyes to? And what are you using to support that belief? You know, if you've had challenges in the past and you've met people and, you know, you've had a long string of relationships that didn't work out, the constant was you. And that's for men and women. So, you know, we always say it's like if you have a pattern of dealing with a certain type of person over and over again, you have to at some point realize I'm the one who's bringing that energy. So if you feel like you've met no good men, you feel like you have met no good women, it's time to take a look at what's going on with you and, you know, where is your responsibility in that? Because the world is endless possibilities. And there's just too many people in the world to make any sort of insistence that any one group is all of anything, right? It's ridiculous. Here's another belief that is definitely sabotaging the singlehood, the belief that we have to be in control. Now, that's an interesting belief because, oh, there's Darcy and Steven. I'm glad you guys showed up. What's up, Darcy and Steven? The idea that we have to be in control when it comes to relationships. And this applies to all of our relationships, our familial relationships, our friendships. It's like, you know, I think it ties in with the thinking that no one can be trusted. Because I think that what happens is we think that, you know, while we're not trusting people, we also won't let them contribute to us, support us, you know, run the show in any kind of way. We won't surrender to what they might want. We won't necessarily give in to what their needs are because it might mean a loss of control. You know, people call it the dating game. The dating game is all a power struggle. That's all it is. And the dating game is clearly not that successful of a game, because if it was, more relationships would work out. So sure, the dating game, if you play it well, you can win. You can probably end up, you know, getting somebody to marry you. You can probably, you know, get things pretty far. But sooner or later, if you're playing a game and it's that power struggle, all of that stuff is going to come up and all of it is going to show up in your relationship. And then it's just going to be a back and forth that you have with somebody that you're living with who's like some sort of horrific roommate. So, you know, this is just one of those beliefs where it's like, if I believe it, then I'm going to be doing things that are going to align with it. And I know that for both women and men in particular, actually, let me say that the other way around, for both men and women in particular, because I think women, especially of this generation, we have a power thing because we are very powerful, we are very empowered, we are very capable and independent and able to do a lot of things that maybe our mothers or our grandmothers weren't allowed to do or didn't have the space to do. And I think that sometimes we forget that the power and the control just doesn't work in relationships. And it doesn't matter whether you are in relationship with men or relationship with other women or vice versa. Power and control, unless it's something that, you know, we're not talking about like 50 Shades of Grey, where you're like consensual, you know, consensual power control sex games, that's different. But like in our lives, you know, when it comes to dating, if someone, you know, disappoints you or is late or, you know, wants to make a date at a certain time, they say, well, you know, don't be too available, don't do this, and, you know, all the rules. And I always say the tips and tricks, those are all power and control games. Now there's an alternative. I'm not going to go into all the alternatives because that's, you know, what I coach, and we don't really have the time for that. We only have an hour, and now we're down to half an hour. But that's what I coach. That's what I coach, is how do you not get into this power and control thing, you know, and try to jump into this dating game pool and actually have it be successful and have it work for you. I can tell you right now, the tips and tricks don't work, but they do speak to the belief that you have to be in control. So as long as you think you have to be in control, you will be sabotaging your love life. Yeah, that's just my thoughts. You can take that with you if you want to. Another one is I am all on my own, and if I don't do things, no one will. So that belief is just like the death of partnership, Because how am I going to partner with anybody? How am I going to collaborate with anybody? How am I going to have a relationship with someone if I believe that I'm the only one who can do things right? Or if I don't do it, no one will do it. Like just that simple thought right there, it's just so martyring. It's just so disempowering for partnership. It really makes it very, very difficult to like really bond with somebody because they don't get a chance, like when we have that belief, we don't give other people a chance to do anything in our lives. And that's what relationships are, letting someone come in and contribute to you. And, someone who's worthy, who gives you great advice or comes up with ideas or takes you on adventures or shows you something different than what you've experienced before. There's no willingness out of the belief that I'm on my own and I got to do it. I got to make all the plans. I got to be in charge of everything. That goes back to control. What else? I've already got things figured out. This is one thing I think with single people. And, I don't want to keep classifying it by sex because I think these are things that are like universal. I think both men and women do these things. It's like, I've already got it figured out. I don't want to hear what anyone else has to say about how anything should go. And, I know that people in relationships are like this too, and that's why they have their power struggles. But when you're single and you're like, I refuse to take advice, I refuse to take input, I do not listen to feedback, I'm just not there for it. I'm not here for the, what you can contribute to me. It really makes it difficult to, even be in relationship with yourself, because then you kind of have to be relying on, the dialogue that's going on in your own head. And, in some practices and in some of my training, they talk about that in your head is like the worst possible neighborhood you could be in. What this all comes down to, like your love life all comes down to community, and how we do one thing is how we do everything. So even in singlehood, your love life should be such that you are willing and ready to partner with people, that you don't have it already figured out, and that there are people out there that can help us and teach us. And, in as much as I love to be an advice giver and laying it down, I also have learned to love it when people can contribute to me in that way and give me advice and give me words of encouragement, or, I don't have to feel like I already knew that, or that they have to know that I already knew that. Like, you're already telling me something I know, which, we run into that a lot because we all want to feel like we've got it figured out, even when it's not working. So another disempowering singlehood belief. If you think, here's two that I think kind of go hand in hand because it's all about wrongness. First of all, if you think that something is wrong with everyone else, like, those people who date a lot or, even a little, or have dated a little bit and then made the decision that there's something wrong with everyone. Like, this guy didn't wear the right shoes, this girl didn't eat her food the right way, or this person, like, we'll come up with a million different reasons for why someone is not good enough, like being in our judgment and our criticism. So if I'm dating and that's how I'm navigating my life is through this space of judgment and criticism, what am I going to get? I'm just going to keep getting the same thing over and over again. People who aren't good enough. I'm going to just keep inviting that into my life. Somebody who doesn't wear the right shoes, somebody who doesn't chew their food the proper way, someone who talks too much, someone like on Seinfeld, someone who has man hands. Like, I'm just going to keep, and it's funny because that's kind of what they did on that show. They were dating. There was always some sort of like something to make fun of, some sort of criticism. And that's, what the show was all about. But that's like true to life, because that's what we do. By our beliefs, we just keep attracting our actions, what we do, what we say. It just perpetuates those beliefs over and over and over again. You're in charge, people. I mean, we are in charge of what our love lives look like. Who came in? Bruce and Beth. What's up, you guys? I'm glad you're here. For those of you who are just joining in, please feel free. We are having a discussion about rocking your singlehood, like shame-free singlehood, how to get over a breakup, how to recoup and regroup. Right now, I'm talking about some of the beliefs of singlehood that are sabotaging. And this time is going by so fast. And even though I said in the beginning that I want this to be a conversation, I don't want to just inundate you with information and do all the talking, I find that I cannot help myself because I did come with so much information. And, this was initially supposed to be a conversation between me and my occasional podcast partner. And so now I feel like I want to fill up the space. But I do want those of you on Facebook Live, feel free to chime in. If you guys have any specific beliefs about singlehood, things that you think about single people, things that you think about being single, if you are or have been, any feelings or anything that resonates with you, anything that comes up. Those of you who are listening on your TuneIn app or in the garden, feel free to call me 1-800-508-5431 so you can join in this conversation. I know, here's the thing about this, people. I know I have a lot of stealth listeners, people who private message me and, respond on the things that I say. And I know that people are so private when it comes to this love stuff. And, they don't want to put all their business out on Front Street. And I get that. So I know it takes a lot of bravery. Don't think I'm judging you if you don't interact, because I know that later on you'll be sending me messages, which I'm cool with that too, because I love you guys. Also, the other one, besides something's wrong with everyone, is that there's something wrong with being single. Like that disempowering belief that there's something wrong with being single will sabotage your ability to have a relationship with anyone. And not only that, well, here's the thing. Let me take that back. It won't sabotage your ability to have a relationship with anyone. But I will tell you, if you were here for the beginning and I told you about my last relationship and how that broke down, I entered that relationship thinking that there was something wrong with being single. Like I had it with like seeing everybody, all my friends and, people getting married on Facebook and, people getting into these great relationships and feeling like I was the only one who wasn't. I had it with everybody in my family being married and me being the only one who wasn't in a relationship. Like I had it with that. And I had decided that there was something wrong with singlehood. And so I ended up in a relationship with someone who came from a space of desperation, who, I needed to fill that void, that voice of something is wrong. Meanwhile, there was nothing wrong. It was an opportunity to grow myself that I did not take. I just got right into a relationship. So those are some of the beliefs. I'm sure there's a million more. I'm sure that you guys have some that, might be disempowering, or some that hopefully are coming up for you right now as you're listening in or as you're watching. And I hope what you will do with them is just be willing to observe them and notice that you have them and realize that what you do comes out of having them and that you can transform them. I mean, whatever we believe, whatever we think, like I said at the top of the show, none of it is real. You can change any of it at any time. And sometimes it might take a little while. I always say that, changing your mind is like a yoga practice. You just flex another muscle and it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. But it's really about replacing those beliefs that will actually empower you. And, starting to think in a way that will have you doing things that create endless possibility in your life. Have you doing things that will, have it feel good rather than feel bad. Like if I'm someone who believes that no one can be trusted and I go out to where there's a lot of attractive people, I'm going to behave in a way that's like not very open, not very, like caring, and not really wanting to connect with people. If I don't really want to connect with people, I'm not going to connect with anybody. It doesn't matter how many good looking people there are around. But me not wanting to connect comes out of not trusting anybody. You get it? So what if I decide people can be trusted and that there are wonderful, trustworthy people out there? What if I decide to be someone who is trustworthy, someone who is in integrity, and someone who has good intentions towards people? If I decide to be that person, I get a chance to believe that there are other people out there like me, that I'm not the only one in the world. If I believe I'm the only one in the world, then I'm a narcissist. But if I'm willing to be that person that I want to attract, if I'm willing to be someone who's honest, then I can believe that somebody else out there wants to be honest too, or is, working towards honesty, or, that's what they're creating for their lives too. I know it sounds so Pollyanna, but I'm telling you, it's, your whole life is a matter of your words, your thoughts, and actions. I'm sure you get that. All right, so we are, oh my gosh, the show is almost over, but I want to talk to you about like the different ways of bringing sexy back, because that's sort of the point of the whole show. And, like I said, if you guys want to give any feedback about bringing sexy back, if you've ever brought sexy back, if you've ever been in a situation where you went through a bad breakup or a bad divorce, or, you were with someone horrible and you took some time off and grew yourself and, little self-care, got into a relationship with yourself so you could have something better. If you've ever done that, please chime in and talk about how you did that. But I can tell you some of the ways that I have done it and am doing it currently. I'm the coach on the court, like I'm in the midst of it right now. Here's the first one: be real with yourself about having mourned the death of the relationship. So you have to be able to say, like, is this my last relationships, or is my past, my past love life? Am I complete with all of that? Like, am I still holding out hope for someone? Am I suffering? Am I missing someone? Am I just feeling pain? Are all my beliefs coming from everything that I've suffered throughout my love life? It's the willingness to admit it and observe it and see that it's there and accept that it's there is like the first step in healing it. It's like the 12-step program. The first step is admitting it. Like, I'm bringing all my baggage. And that's why my relationships aren't working out, because I got all my baggage with me, and, he or she can't carry it all because they're coming with all their baggage. So, once we're willing to admit that, there's an openness. So like we open ourselves up to the freedom from it, right? Here's another one: the internal search. So often we break up with someone and, our inner dialogue is, what did I do wrong? I mean, we go through our stages of grief, obviously, but we want to blame ourselves. There has to be blame and shame. So, what did I do wrong, and what can I fix, and how can I be better? So all of those are like, disempowering questions, because it's not about wrong. It's about, we all go into our relationships with what we know, and we do what we do with what we know. And sometimes we don't know very much, and sometimes we don't bring very much, and it doesn't work out. And, and sometimes that's an understatement. Sometimes it more than doesn't work out. Sometimes it goes really sour, it goes really bad. But if the choice is to look at it like an opportunity to have a different experience next time and to learn from what happened, not to limit ourselves from what happened, but to just like understand that, hey, I had some responsibility in how this turned out, and I can actually create something new if I'm willing to let go of whatever had me behaving the way that I behaved, or whatever had me in that relationship the way that I was in that relationship. I can't blame it all on that other person, because that doesn't serve me. That doesn't help me for the next relationship. That means in the next relationship, when someone does something that I consider to be wrong, then I have an excuse to behave in a way that doesn't work. So, it's just a willingness to kind of like not blame yourself, not be like, why was I wrong? Just, how can I take responsibility for a new experience? How can I be what I wish to experience? How can I create what I wish to experience rather than what I had before? It goes hand in hand too with, having, doing the internal search, and then also being complete with it. Like being complete with whatever was in the past. I know, here's the thing about laying all this stuff on you guys in this one little hour. There's so much to all of this. It's so meaty, which is why I love when I do my workshops. I love when I work with one-on-one clients, because we really get to delve into this and delve into the remedies and, the actions and the practices. Like I said, the secret art of shame-free singlehood. Like we get to delve into all of that stuff and really heal it and really make a difference. And, now what I'm hoping happens with those of you who are listening, those of you who are on live, tune in app, in the garden, when you listen to the replay on Spreaker, if you watch on YouTube, if you become a subscriber of Ask for Candy on YouTube, like when you're watching this, even if it does nothing else but sort of like tip you into the direction of how do I make my singlehood shame-free and happy and better so that I can have a better love life with or without someone else? Because obviously it always comes down to self-love. You know, I always say that. And that's what this is about. So if I know I lay a lot of information on you, but if what I'm laying on you actually just inspires you to open yourself up and explore what's possible and what you can do in your life to have the experience you want. I mean, we're here this one time in these human suits that we're in, right? We get this one opportunity, and whether you believe in reincarnation or not, you're only going to be who you are this one time. It's not like, you know, even if you reincarnate, you don't show up as the same person over and over again. The idea here is to make the absolute most of it. It's, you know, what can we do to do that? But first of all, is to stop, you know, believing our perceptions and making them law, being flexible and understanding that, you know, the world is full of possibilities. And that's what all of this is all about. So here's another one: break some bad habits. Here's a way to rock your singlehood, use it for good, recoup and regroup after any sort of bad relationship, any sort of long hiatus. Break bad habits. Like if you are a drinker, a drug user, and it's actually sabotaging you, and you're willing to admit that to yourself. If you are an overeater, raise my hand. You know, someone who's addicted to sugar, if you haven't been working out, if you, any of those things that are like, you know, detrimental to you that you've just been using to fill the hole and fill the void, like take your singlehood and use that as an opportunity. Because here's the thing, you can go through withdrawal. I don't know if any of you have ever quit coffee or heroin or whatever, how sick you get after a withdrawal from any sort of addictive, even sugar. I get a sugar headache. When I quit sugar, I get a sugar headache that makes me want to punch people in the face and then punch myself in the face. So any of you, you know, anytime you quit anything, anytime you give anything up, you go through a withdrawal period. And who wants to deal with someone sleeping in the bed with you, someone around all the time, somebody expecting you to behave a certain way while you're going through with the withdrawal of a bad habit, even if it's just a shopping addiction? Like, you're going to have withdrawal. You're going to have a period of time where you're adjusting. Even if you go on a diet, you're going to be adjusting for a period of time. And during that time, you want to just be able to just do it. And if you're single and you're on your own, you can just do it without having to worry about how it's affecting somebody else or affecting the person that you sleep with every night or whatever, you know, without having to worry about being this certain thing for someone or, you know, whatever. You can just, it's a perfect opportunity. It's a perfect opportunity to heal your crap. You know, like I say, develop an internal workout. So if that means seeing a therapist or a coach, if that means, you know, taking some personal development, if that means, you know, going on a workout regime, doing a yoga challenge, doing a running challenge, running a marathon, whatever. It's not that you can't do these things when you're in a relationship, but these are the kind of things that rock your singlehood, because it gets you closer to who you are, and how you can be your absolute best and attract somebody from being your absolute best, as opposed to attracting them from being someone who just got beaten in a relationship. And I mean that physically and emotionally. Sometimes we come out of these things and we feel like we've been beaten. And who wants to pick you up and take you home in that state, you know? And who wants to be in that state and get into a relationship? I know after my last relationship ended, the last thing I wanted was another relationship. Because you got to heal. You got to take that time to really, you know, be with yourself. Here's another one. Open up to fresh starts. Like, one thing that I did for a long time, and I'm willing to admit, is I was like afraid. I had an apartment that I didn't want to let go of. I ended up getting evicted from it. I did not want to let go of that apartment. I did not want to open myself up to how I could have a fresh start in my life. Even though it was there for me, it was offered to me a number of times. There were ways out, but I didn't want to let go. And it wasn't so much about holding on to the relationship that I had in that apartment. It wasn't so much about that. It was about just, not wanting too many things to change at once, not wanting to deal with transition. Marionette, my friend Marionette just joined on Facebook Live. It's more and more of you too, my love. But yeah, you got to be willing to be open to fresh starts when you're in your singlehood, because that's why they come along. Not saying that they don't come along when you're in a relationship, but when you're in your singlehood, and Liz and I talked about this last week, you can really take advantage of them. Like if a great job in Europe comes up, or, South Africa, or, in the Sudan or something like that, and it's something amazing, you can do some adventure in Australia, you can just do it. And, when those opportunities come up to change, to let go, to release, your singlehood is the perfect time to take them and enjoy them, and, not worry about, because hell, the person that you want to be with might be there wherever you go, or might be at that new opportunity or that new job or that new routine, even that new way that you take to work. Michael, hey, Michael just joined us. He said, hey, girl. Hey, man. I love you, Facebook Live friends that come on. Like I said, definitely subscribe on YouTube to Ask for Candy, because then you'll get to watch replays. Those of you who've come on later and don't get to see the whole show and hear the whole thing. Now, I'm getting to the end. I have other ones that I want to share with you. One of them is figure out your purpose. The other one is cultivate partnerships. We touched on that a little bit earlier, so I'm not going to go deep into all of those things, because I want to be able to give you the 3 ways to make your love and life sweeter over the next week. And then also I feel like we'll touch on these things again, because I'll bring them back at some point. We don't know what the different topics are going to be in the coming weeks, but I'll repeat some stuff, because I definitely want you guys to have that real relationship, or that shame-free singlehood. That's what we're here for, right? So let's do the top 3 ways, or this week's 3 ways to make your love and your life sweeter, because we're getting to near the end of the show. Number 1 is to give up some of that control we were talking about earlier. And, whatever that looks like for you, where it is. If you're honest with yourself, you know how to identify the places where you're just you're not surrendering, you're not letting someone else just kind of take the reins. Maybe if you're the planner in your life and you plan for everybody, maybe let somebody else do it for once. Allow yourself to try something that someone, suggests that might not be what you normally do. That's a good way to give up control. I don't know. We have all our little covert, sneaky ways that we do it too, but only you know yourself. I know my little ways that I do it. So someone that you usually expect to be on your agenda, let them off the hook. And even if they've failed you many times, if there's somebody that, you're single but is dating, like sometimes we date people and we expect them to be on our agenda, doing what we say, when we say do it, and there for us when we want. And then, if they fall by the wayside, or if they're not in touch with us as much as we'd like, then it's like we feel away, or we assume certain things, and then we start to treat them a different way because we think they aren't doing what we would like for them to do. They're not as attentive as we would like for them to be. This week, let's just try to give up a little bit of that. Let's just release a little bit of that. Doesn't mean that you're going to let anybody just walk all over you, but this expectation, even if you're in a relationship, especially if you're in a relationship, husbands, wives, let's give up a little bit of expectation and let the other person be a little bit, and maybe get into their space about what they're doing. The second one is to take a moment to acknowledge all your past lovers, your past relationships, and everything that they brought to your life. Now, that doesn't mean you have to call them. This is not like, you've been diagnosed, so now you got to call everybody and let them know. That's not what I mean. Unless you have been diagnosed, then yes, you should call them. But take a moment, for yourself to be in gratitude and acknowledge all, even if what they gave you was an STD, all those past people that you've been with, or even if you've only been with 1 or 2 people, whoever's in the past, and just say thank you. Thank you for the lessons that you taught me. Thank you for the ugly and the beauty that you brought into my life. Thank you for helping to grow me up. Thank you for your wisdom or your stupidity, whatever that brought to me. Thank you for whatever recommendations, whatever you brought into my life. Thank you for that. Thank you for the period of time that you were in my life, the time that you took up. And a lot of times we always say, we'll say that we've wasted time, but none of the time is wasted. There's no wasted time with anyone. Someone comes into your life, you can spend years with them, and you haven't wasted that time. In hindsight, what you have done is learned and grown. And if you choose to take it as an opportunity to get clear about what you want as opposed to what you don't want, then that relationship had value. The third, try meditation. I'm not going to tell you what to do spiritually. I'm not your boss as far as that's concerned. That's on you. That's personal. But if you already meditate, try doing it a different way. Like maybe you do guided meditations or something like that. Try doing chanting or try doing silent meditation. Just try it. Even if it's a minute a day, try to just be with yourself. Be with yourself, because if you can't be with yourself, you sure as hell can't expect somebody else to want to be with you in an intimate, personal way, even if it's your husband or your wife.
Wake up.
All right, we only got 40 seconds left. The sign-off question is, why am I single? If you're single, I want you to answer that question for yourself. Answer it honestly. Today's show is dedicated to my niece, Libby, who passed away last week. God rest her soul. She was an angel in our family, and we were so grateful to have her. And as always, I want to say my outro, but I can't remember it. Until next time, never forget that you are a love machine. If you ever start to feel like you're not getting the love you need, I just want you to make more. All right. Thank you, Armed Radio Global, everybody, Joe and Jim, everybody who's producing. I love you guys. Thank you, everybody who's come on and is listening out there in the garden on your TuneIn app. I appreciate you for being here. It has been a wonderful time. And those of you who are on Facebook Live,
User left your channel.
especially thank you. So the Armed Radio Global people are gone, but the Facebook Live people, Michael, I see where you say, hey, say the name of your YouTube channel again. My YouTube channel is ASKFORCANDY. So if you go to YouTube, I only have a couple videos up so far, but I'm actually going to put all these Facebook Lives on the channel and continue to do so. So subscribe on Ask for Candy and you'll get notifications. Thank you, everybody who showed up for this live. I appreciate you, even if you only had a few minutes to stop in. This has been a fantastic hour. I love you guys. I don't know. Have a great week, and I will see you next Monday. Who knows where I'll be? Yes, Michael, thank you too. See you in May. I can't wait. You're coming to New York. All right. I love you, Facebook. Bye, everybody.